Well, I just want to welcome everybody to the 45th Annual Volunteer Awards. Doesn't that sound like a big number, right? So, this day for me is such a great reflection of joy for our office. It is maybe a little bit of stress, right? A little stress, but it is all worth it. Today we are going to run things just a little different than you are used to. So we're very excited to have the Lieutenant Governor here with us today. So what we're going to do is do our awards first, and then we are going to do the meal after. So I hope you all are okay with that because we are very honored to have him here. So we're going to first start with the pledge.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. We are honored to have our mayor, Marshalltown Mayor Joel Greer here, and he is going to come up and just say a brief greeting.
I'll try to cut it down to 45 minutes. I literally, in the last hour, got the invitation because I never go to the mayor's office. I have a law office, and that's where I live and work and play. And so I'm embarrassed to have just found this, and thank you, Amy, for letting me still address the group. It's been a tough year, and what we've known is that having good volunteers makes all the world of difference for our town, for this facility here. Driving from home to the fire station on the day of the tornado, this was one of my biggest worries because you have so many good people that live here, work here, and volunteer here. And I was so pleased to see that very little damage happened here. I have to tell you, as the mayor, I am so proud of the city people that we have working here, and so glad that the Veterans Home is part of our city. It's part of our just nature in general, and I love the new commandant. I think he's doing a great job. At Rotary yesterday, his assistant was invited to become a corporate member, and so there's going to be more connection of Rotary and volunteers and the veterans that are served here. And I know that if I keep talking, I'm going to take time away from the awards and from more important people than I am, so thank you for what you do out here.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Okay, next I would like to welcome our Commandant, Timon Ojuri.
Good morning. Thank you, Amy. Welcome to your Iowa Veterans Home 45th Volunteer Appreciation Luncheon and Awards program. IVH could not support our residents, our veterans, your veterans, without each and every one of you. If you are here once a year, once a month, once a week, or daily, like a number of you are, your volunteerism is so meaningful to our residents. Without you, the numerous activities that we offer to our residents would not happen without you. From greeting our new families, our guests, our residents, and our staff, to attending events off campus, the Iowa State Fair, UNI sporting events, community events, enjoying meals in local restaurants, fishing trips, these events would not happen without you. I thank you and each and every one of you. I also need to recognize Amy and Betsy for their dedicated work to our volunteers and to them putting on this great luncheon. Thank you, Amy and Betsy. Without further ado, it is now my tremendous honor and privilege to introduce our very special guest, our Lieutenant Governor, Adam Gregg. Lieutenant Governor Gregg serves as the Iowa's 47th Lieutenant Governor. He serves as co-chair of the Governor's Empower Rural Iowa Initiative, serves on the executive committee of the National Lieutenant Governors Association, as the vice chair of the Republican Lieutenant Governors Association. Lieutenant Governor Gregg is a great supporter of our Iowa Veterans Home. He was the first elected official to accept my invitation to visit IVH when I was first appointed by Lieutenant Governor Reynolds at the time, now Governor Reynolds, when I was first the commandant of the Iowa Veterans Home. Lieutenant Governor understands firsthand the sacrifices and selfless service our veterans have given to our great nation, as his grandfather is a combat veteran of World War II. Lieutenant Governor Gregg's grandfather passed away last year. The United States flag that draped his grandfather's casket holds a place of honor in his office in the state of Iowa Capitol. Lieutenant Governor Gregg previously served as a state public defender, where he drew praise for his leadership, guiding the agency responsible providing the constitutional right to counsel. He was a Republican nominee for Attorney General in 2014. In 2013 and 2014, Adam Gregg served the governor's office as legislative liaison, the advisor. Prior to joining the governor's office, Adam practiced at the Bullwink law firm in Des Moines. Not Bullwinkle. Oh, I know it. He'll get me for that later. He is a graduate of Drake University in Pella in Central College in Pella. He is married with 2 children. Lieutenant Governor Gregg, thank you for taking the time from your work, working with the state, the federal and community leaders, working through the devastating flood crisis, to be here today to honor our wonderful volunteers. Lieutenant Governor Gregg, thank you, sir.
No problem. Well, thank you, Commandant. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to serve you in the role of Lieutenant Governor. I've come a long way from my time at the Brown Winnick law firm, not the Bullwinkle law firm. Misters Brown and Winnick are going to be very offended. But I'm honored to be here, and I want to start out by saying that Governor Reynolds sends her regards. She, of course, wishes that she could be here, but with the flooding in southwest Iowa, there are some meetings going on in southwest Iowa today with the U.S. Senate Environment and Public Works Committee meeting. Senator Joni Ernst is chairing that field hearing so that our elected representatives in Washington, D.C. have a better understanding of the challenges that we're facing right now with the ongoing flooding event in southwest Iowa. Of course, this is a community that understands the challenges that are posed by a natural disaster in both the immediate aftermath and the long-term effects. And so you understand that sometimes we need to just drop everything and go to those areas. And I know that Governor Reynolds originally planned to be a part of this event, but she needed to be there, and I hope you all understand that. But I also hope you understand that I am so proud to have the opportunity to represent her and to represent our team and represent our state here with you at this ceremony today. When I began doing the preparation for today's awards, I was very impressed with the number of people who give their time here at the home and the longevity of the service program and really the sheer volume of hours that the volunteers put in here. You have over 150 trained volunteers that have given at least 3 hours each month. 36 of those volunteers gave over 100 hours of their time last year, and 10 volunteers gave over 300 hours. I think that's incredible. I think it deserves a round of applause. I think Iowans are known all across the country and really all across the world for their generosity of spirit, but those numbers speak volumes, and what a gift to the community of Marshalltown and especially to the residents here at the Iowa Veterans Home. It's really humbling to consider, but it's really not surprising when you think about the nature of Iowans. Day in and day out, you all are present for the veterans who you serve, allowing them to have an exceptional quality of life. So I just want to say sincerely, thank you for serving them because they so bravely served us. Fueled by unparalleled courage, they have all played a critical role in ensuring our freedoms. So today, let's take a moment to also say thank you to those of you who have served our country. Thank you for your service and your dedication and for putting your country first. We will always be indebted to you for your service. Thank you. Serving our nation is something that will always be a part of who you are today, but it's also important to remember that Iowans have always had a proud military heritage, from the state's involvement in the Civil War to World War II to Vietnam to the global war on terrorism. Iowans have continually answered the call to duty. So one of the best ways that we can honor our veterans is to keep our commitment to them. And I really feel that the volunteers that we're honoring today, your work is a daily embodiment of that commitment. And on behalf of the governor and the state of Iowa and the residents here, I want to sincerely say thank you. Now, before I leave here today, the Commandant did mention my grandfather, Glenn Gregg, and I'd like to just share a little bit about him briefly. I shared this story in my inaugural address back in January. But my grandpa, Glenn Gregg, served in the infantry in World War II. And eventually, he actually took a bullet in the leg while he was serving along the Belgian-German border. But for some reason, he never ended up receiving the Purple Heart that he had earned on the battlefield. And the interesting thing about him, and I think it's representative of a lot of that generation, is he never said a word about it for nearly 70 years. And the only reason it ever came out is because 70 years later, he was having some circulation issues, and that wound from the battlefield was about to necessitate the amputation of his leg nearly 70 years after the fact. And through the process of service connecting that injury, they discovered that he had never actually been awarded that Purple Heart. And they ended up having a really nice ceremony in our hometown community where 70 years afterwards, they gave him his Purple Heart. He was also a man, I must say, who fondly remembering how the United States of America had made sure that he had a warm Thanksgiving meal on a cold day on the front lines in 1944, always continued to insist that he stand for the national anthem on his one remaining leg as if he owed it to the country rather than the other way around. And I think he's kind of the embodiment of the veterans who have served us and who have sacrificed on our behalf. I think that's the kind of attitude that so many veterans have. I have enormous respect for my grandfather, Glenn Gregg, and as the Commandant mentioned, I have numerous daily reminders of him that I keep in my formal office at the Capitol. I've got his picture hanging on my wall, which is normally reserved for, folks who were the founders of our state or something like that, but I felt I wanted to honor my grandfather. I also have a display of his medals, including that Purple Heart that came 70 years late, and the flag that adorned his casket sits on a table in my office in a prominent place as a reminder of the freedoms that he so bravely fought for. And I know that we could walk around the grounds here today and the buildings on these grounds and find similar stories of bravery and sacrifice and find honorable public servants who continually put their country ahead of themselves. And for that, they have our truly unending respect and appreciation. So with that, I just, again, want to say thank you to the volunteers for your service. Thank you to the veterans for your service. And thank you for inviting me here today. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless our great state and our great country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. Okay, should we get this show on the road? What is going to happen is we're going to start with the individual awards. The Lieutenant Governor and the Commandant will be over here for a photo with you. So as we call you up, Betsy will have your award, and then you'll go over for your photo. So we are going to start out with, and if you are unable to come up for your award, we are glad to bring it out to you. So just know that, just give a little hand raise and we'll bring the award out to you. So we're going to start with a gal who has my heart. This gal is receiving her 40 Years of Service Award. It is Helen Sager. We are blessed to have had you spend so much time here. So Helen, come on up. Helen is with the Elks Club, and she is also on our VAC advisory, our volunteer advisory committee. Okay, so our next award winner is also a gal who I am so fond of. She is someone who reminds me every time she's here to put my lips on. She's, Amy, get those lips on, right? So receiving the Long-Term Service Award is Dita Borum. She has been here for 15 years volunteering, and she comes up with the AMVETS Auxiliary. So we thank you very much, Dita. Okay, so next is Doris Lemker. I know, Doris just gave me that look like, oh. So, Doris has volunteered over, well, according to this, over 34,000 hours, but that was as of 2018. So you can imagine that number has climbed. She's been here at least a week, right? At least a week. Doris volunteers with the VFW Auxiliary and with the American Legion Auxiliary. She helps out with recreation. She helps out with the arts and crafts area, library, maybe chapel. I'm trying to think what I've forgotten, because what doesn't Doris do? She is a phenomenon. She is fabulous. So, and Doris, we have something for you, but I can't actually hand it to you. Doris has been awarded a permanent parking spot. Because she has earned it, right? She has earned it. She is here before most people, and she leaves after most. So we want to make sure you have a great spot, Doris. So you're welcome. Thank you for all you do. Okay, so next we have the 8,000 hour bar attachment award, and that winner is Dolores Clayton. Come on up, Dolores. Dolores has been a longtime volunteer with the VFW Auxiliary, and she helps out with recreation on a regular basis, helps out in our gift shop, and she helps out at our greeter desk. So it's amazing when I do these awards. Honestly, I think Betsy and Christy think I'm crazy, but I do tear up absolutely when I see all these hours, because it's fabulous. So thank you so much, Dolores. Okay, next we have our 4,000 hour award, and that award is going to Linda Mettis. Come on up, Linda. So Linda is a volunteer with recreation. She is we just call her the bowling volunteer, right? Because she does such a great job with our folks and is just as regular as they come. So we appreciate her very much. Okay, next I would like to call up Bill Eilers with our 3,000 hour award. So we are lucky to have Bill spending his time here. He had spent time in ceramics. He is helping out in the library, and he is now helping out in the print shop. So thank you so much, Bill, for all you do. Bill has hit 37,046 hours. So thank you, Bill. 3,746. Yes, that would be a lot of hours. Okay, next we have our 2,000 hour bar attachment award winner, and that is going to Greg Baker. Greg, come on up. So Greg is a volunteer that is in our gift shop and our library. He is someone who is absolutely so generous with his time, and he always asks, how much can I do? Do you need help with something? Even this morning, he popped right in here and he said, can I help set up? I almost said yes, and then I'm like, no, it's your day. So thank you so much, Greg. Okay, next we've got the 1,000 hour bar attachment award winners, and I will tell you, if there is someone listed here that I missed, please give me a little shout out, okay? Because we try to mark people off as they came in, but I am blonde, so, right? Had to get the blonde joke in there, so. Okay, 1,000 hours, Jack Mackin. Come on up, Jack. So Jack is a volunteer that helps out with recreation. He is one of my fellows who calls daily. And he says, what do you need? Where can I help? And it is so appreciated. Very much so. Thank you, Jack. Next, we've got Marilee Cruz. Come on up, Marilee. Marilee is a longtime library volunteer. She is as regular as they come and so appreciated. So we thank you so much, Marilee, for all you do for us. Not only does she volunteer in the library, but she's always bringing me things, which I love, for our Red Hat ladies. So she's a blessing. Thank you, Marilee. So next, we've got the IVH gold-plated pin. This is awarded after you hit 750 hours volunteering. So Veronica McKenzie, can you come on up, Veronica? Veronica helps out with the Waverly AMVETS Auxiliary, and she is always, those gals, they are regular. If one is missing, I always am worried, that because they are so regular and so loyal to us. Thank you so much, Veronica. Okay, the next certificates are the certificates of dedicated service. This is for 500 hours and above. The first person I have for that is Bill Fisher. Come on up, Bill. Bill is one of our chapel volunteers, and just a delight for me because I know him from my previous life. So whenever I see Bill, it just brings a warm spot in my heart. Thank you, Bill. Okay, the next is Jean Lansky. Come on up, Jean. So Jean is with the AMVETS Auxiliary. She is also our representative on the Volunteer Advisory Committee. And she leads a great group of gals, let's just say that. Thank you, Jean. Okay, Ruth Jacobson. Is Ruth here? There she is. All right, Ruth. So Ruth is one of our chapel volunteers, and Ruth just squeezed in at 501 hours, which is wonderful. Those chapel volunteers, I tell you, they are just a great group of folks here on Thursdays and Sundays. Sometimes both, sometimes one or the other. So thank you, Ruth. Okay, next is our certificates of merit. So these award winners have volunteered 300 hours or above. The first person I would like to call up is Billy Wilson. Come on up, Billy. Billy is one of our newer volunteers, but he is a frequent flyer. He is here all the time, helping out with recreation and music. We are very lucky to have Billy spending his time here. Thanks, Billy. Okay, the next fella that I'd like to call up is Bob Streeter. So, Bob, come on up. Bob is a longtime Elks member and has been my co-chair on the Volunteer Advisory Committee. So, Bob and I have gotten to spend a lot of time together. Thank you, Bob. Okay. Next, I'd like to call up Barbara Hilleman. Come on up, Barbara. So Barbara is a recreation volunteer, and she is just wonderful. Again, she's one of our newer volunteers. And when I say newer, when you have volunteers who have been here for 40 years, you might have volunteered 10 years and still be a new kid on the block. So, okay, next I've got Linda Tassler. Come on up, Linda. Yeah, so Linda is a VFW auxiliary volunteer, and she helps out on a regular basis with bingo, but she also just helps out by coming and visiting with our residents. When I think of Linda, I think of a firecracker, right? Thank you so much, Linda. So next we've got our certificates of appreciation. These folks have volunteered 100 hours or more, and in order to receive an award here at the Iowa Veterans Home, they start at 100 hours. So Bonnie Pelkey, come on up, Bonnie. Bonnie is truly one of our newer volunteers, and if we had an award for New Volunteer of the Year, she would be getting it. But we don't have that award. So Bonnie is a blessing to us. She helps out at our greeter table, and she is here welcoming the residents, welcoming the visitors, families, and again is another person who just offers to go the extra mile for us. So we definitely appreciate that. Thanks, Bonnie. Okay, next I've got Tim Thompson. Come on up, Tim. Tim is one of our chapel volunteers. And Tim is, I always tell the volunteers, contact me however you want to, whether it's text, email, phone call, mailing me. And Tim is someone who will text me, do you need help in the chapel? And the answer 100% of the time is yes, right? We appreciate you very much, Tim. Thank you. Okay, next we've got Camilla Kozar, otherwise known as Millie, right, Millie? So Millie is a former IVH employee and someone who helps out with recreation. Thank you, Millie. Okay, next we have Frank Dre. I know you're here. Come on up, Frank. So Frank is also a former IVH employee, and he helps out with chapel. So we're and if someone else is a former employee, I apologize if I didn't mention it, but we really appreciate those former IVH employees because they really, truly understand the needs of the residents. Thank you, Frank. Okay, next I've got Chris Gilchrist Dole. I'm not used to saying the whole name, Chris. Come on up. So Chris is one of our popcorn volunteers, and she puts up with those ornery fellas. Thank you, Chris. So our next volunteer is Jean Thompson. Come on up, Jean. Jean kind of became a volunteer just through, what would we call it? I don't even know osmosis, right? Yes. She comes with her husband, Tim, and helps out in the chapel. Thank you, Jean. So next we have another VAC Advisory Committee member, Kenny Lloyd. Come on up, Kenny. So Kenny and I had a nice visit today about actually signing in as a volunteer, right, Kenny? He's like, well, do I really need to do that every time? I'm like, yes. That way we can thank you. Kenny is with the Paralyzed Veterans of America? I had a blank. I'm telling you, blonde moments, they're real. Right? Yes, yes. Yeah. Thank you, Kenny. So next I've got Janet Taylor. Come on up, Janet. Janet is another one of our very regular bingo volunteers. She comes up with the Evansdale AMVETS. And they're just a regular group of folks that, and when I say regular, I'm not talking common, I'm talking reliable. Yes, reliable. Thanks, Janet. Next, I'd like to welcome up Rich Naughton. Come on up, Rich. So Rich is one of our one-on-one volunteers. He actually comes with his dog, Bailey. And I said, really, we should be giving Bailey an award as well. But thank you, Rich. Okay, so next we've got the certificates of continuous service. These folks are just in between award levels, okay? It's really, we have people ranging from 104 hours up to Doris with 34,650 hours. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to bring you up in groups. bring you up in groups of 4. So anybody who is listed here who has 5,000 hours or above, if you could come on up, and that would be Doris Lemker, Colleen Goodman, and the Bells, please. And I know this is a little different than the way we've done it in the past, but so the interesting thing about this group of folks is these are all past Commandant Award winners. And they all have a huge impact here. Colleen Goodman has 10,808 hours, and both Bells, now there's a little difference between their hours, which I think is kind of funny. I'm sure there's a little explaining to do there, right? Okay, next I'd like to welcome the folks that have 2,000 or above hours. So that would be Chuck Herdlick, Helen Sager, and Bev Recious. So Chuck is one of our chapel volunteers. Again, he is just as reliable as they come. Helen is with the Elks. Helen. And then we've got Bev, who is one of our recreation volunteers. She helps out with the greeter desk and in the gift shop. Thank you all. Okay, next we're going to do 1,500 hours and above. So this is a little bit larger group. We've got Claire Ellsbury, Sarah Schwab, Kenny Milena, Kathy Johnson, Stacy Bain, and Carolyn Stanley. Come on up. Okay, while they're coming up, Claire is one of our recreation volunteers. He started just shortly after I did. So he is someone who is here day in and day out. Sarah is one of our volunteers that helps out in OTPT with the sewing room. Kenny is one of our recreation volunteers. I've got Kathy. Did I call Kathy Johnson? Kathy's up there, good. She's one of our Evansdale volunteers. Stacy Bain is with the American Legion Auxiliary. And then Carolyn helps out in arts and crafts and recreation. Okay, the next group is going to be our 500 hours and above. So can I have Roger Dirks come on up? Dita Borum, Ellie Lotz, Linda Bruce, Beth Anson, and Carol Finger, please. And if there was anybody I missed in there, please come on up. So Roger is one of our popcorn volunteers, Roger Dirks. We've got Dita, who is with the AMVETS Auxiliary. Ellie is one of our regular recreation volunteers, and I believe Ellie is American Legion Auxiliary. I believe. Yes, I'm getting the nod from Shelley. Linda is one of our recreation volunteers. Beth is a regular chapel volunteer. And Carol helps out with the Evansdale group. Bingos. Okay, thank you all so much. Next, we're doing 200 hours and above. So if I could have, and again, if I missed anybody, please come on up. Don True. There we go. Don True, Laverne Oshwagon, Wanda Benning, LaDonna Runner, Dave Thornburg, Tom Jackson, Benny Jackson, and Sandra Dietz. Good timing there, right? Come on up, y'all. And I appreciate everybody being flexible, doing things just a little different this year, so. So some of these folks are with the Evansdale AMVETS. I've got Dawn, Laverne, and Wanda. Wanda is with the AMVETS Auxiliary. LaDonna Runner helps out with recreation and is an ALA volunteer. We've got Tom Jackson and Benny Jackson, who are both Evansdale AMVETS, and Sandra Dietz, who is with the AMVETS Auxiliary out of Waverly.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. Okay, next we've got the 100 hours and above. If I could have Nancy Edwards come on up. Oh, shoot. Well, you know, all perfect, Nancy. You're good. Yeah. Mary Alice Groff. Joanne Klein. I don't think is Cindy here with Kenny? And then Mary Steinbeck. And if there's anybody else I missed there, come on up. 100 to 200 hours. Okay, thank you all. So now we're back to a couple of individuals. So the next award, well, I do have one person I would like to mention today. It's funny because every year we get more and more youth volunteers, but because of when the awards are, we don't have any of our youth award winners here, but we do have one of our youth volunteers that did come. You have to get 50 hours in order to qualify for your first youth award. So Stan is not quite there, but Stan, if you want to stand up, I just want to give you a big round of applause because we appreciate you being here. Stan helps out with the chapel and comes from Traer, so thank you, Stan. Okay, so the next award is an important award. It's not something that we give out every year, but I felt it was very needed this year. So the 2019 Distinguished Service Award winner is Billy Wilson and the class of 1969. Come on up, Billy. So the reason that we are giving Billy this award this year is for his efforts with the tree recovery after the July 19th tornado. So as you know, the Iowa Veterans Home lost, I think, 53 trees. And Billy immediately recognized a need and got with his class, other class members, and they have been fundraising, and I think they are over $40,000 raised to date. Oh, higher? How high?
We've adjusted it. We adjusted it to 50,000, and now we're going after 69,000.
That is wonderful. So at this point, they will be replacing 50 of the 53 trees lost here. So it's fabulous. We really are lucky.
We did your tree replacement in less than 3 weeks, our fundraising.
That's wonderful. It is wonderful. Thank you. And the other thing that I would like to say in regards to the tornado, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, is thank you to the volunteers, because you all, I'm telling you, 5 minutes after the tornado went through, my phone was ringing. So I think Jack Mackin had called me and said, Amy, are you okay? Number one, is the Vets Home okay, and where can I go? We had countless volunteers willing and able and ready to help us out that day. So thank you guys so much. We really couldn't do all we do without you. So big round of applause to all of you. Okay, so here we go. The big award. Are you guys ready for it? Our Commandant's Award this year. This year's Commandant's Award winners make their presence known weekly. In fact, if they miss a week, the entire facility mourns. It's a sad day here. They have both been volunteering since 2011. They are fun, personable. They both dish out enough sarcasm, wit, and entertainment to make them two of our most popular volunteers. They spend virtually every Tuesday here, and they only miss if there's an ice storm or they're sick, icy roads, who knows? But you definitely know they're here by the smell, right? So, we only have one of our award winners here today, but our 2019 Commandant's Award winner is our Popcorn Fellas. So, Roger Dirks, come on up. Roger volunteers a lot of time, not just with us, he's with the VFW. Thank you so much, Roger. He's an outstanding fella. He helps out at funerals for veterans in Marshall County here and helps out with the bingos. So I think he is a very deserving award winner. Norm Charlton, who couldn't be here today, and I'm sure he'll be kicking himself, so we'll have to present his award on Tuesday, is also just he's a funny guy, always looking out for our residents, and we are so appreciative to both of them for all they do for the Iowa Veterans Home. So, thank you, Roger. Hey, come here. I'm Mike. Thanks for all you do. Okay, so you guys, have we ever had that fast of an awards? I want to thank from the bottom of my heart Lieutenant Governor Gregg for being here. It really added a special element to our awards. Thank you to all the staff who has helped out. So what we are going to do now, and thank you to Betsy. What am I missing? I'm getting the signal. Oh, how could I forget? I'm telling you, they're real. I told you. We'd like to present the Lieutenant Governor with one of our cups, and there's a cup for each and all of you from the Iowa Veterans Home. Again, thank you for all you do for us. Thank you again, sir.
I'm going to escort him out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, next, I would like to invite up a new member of our staff, Ryan Trosen, chaplain. Here, come on up, Ryan. Ryan is going to lead us in prayer.
We want to thank you all so much. As a new here, I didn't even realize, how much work goes into making this place run, whether it's a staff, but also the volunteers. And so, as from the chaplains, we want to say a special thank you to all of the volunteers that come on Thursdays or Sundays, or for any of our special service events. It means a lot to us having people that are willing to come and escort our residents down and then to serve at either Mass or one of our worship services. So thank you so much from myself and Angela as well. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for a moment to thank the people that devote their time and energy to serving others. And thank you for us that we get a chance to serve them today. We ask that you bless the food and bless the conversation on the table. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ryan. The other thing I would like to say is we do want to recognize that we did lose 2 volunteers this year. Both volunteers had a big impact here, had a big footprint here. Cheryl Harris, who was a regular recreation volunteer, passed away, and her loss is definitely felt. The residents really enjoyed spending time with her, and she was just so regular here. So we're very sad about that. The other volunteer that we lost is Virginia Johnson, and she was a newer, quote-unquote, volunteer officially here, although she had been here helping out the veterans of Marshall County for years. And she was she passed very suddenly, so it was very shocking to a lot of people. But I do want to just recognize them and thank them for their service. And for everybody who was friends with them, I'm sure sorry for your loss, and they will be missed. So if we could just have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you all.